Hey everybody, it's Planner Colleen. So I am here today with my Annie Plans Printables how-to video. So during this video I'm going to go through her website and how I print it using my Mac PC. I'm also going to go through how I put together my TN printable inserts. I have two techniques for this. One is using staples and the other is using the sewing method, which is really simple, and I don't want you to be afraid of it. I think people are automatically just terrified of the idea of sewing your own inserts, but it's super easy and super simple, and I'll go through it all with you. So jumping right in, when you get to the Annie Plans page at annieplansprintables.com, it is one of the easiest websites to navigate around. You have a choice of currencies from United States dollars to euro, and also to mention her rewards program, so make sure to register for that. I have 17 points in mine at the moment. I'm nearly to 25 points for $3.50 off. So first things first, check out her print instructions. These are the most detailed print instructions I've ever seen. Just scroll down through it. They're very straightforward. I think the main thing for y'all to take from the print instructions is to flip on the short edge. And once you've that selected, I think you'll be doing okay. And also remember to make sure that your Adobe Reader is up to date, and the link is available in her how-to print instructions at the very bottom. If you scroll down, you will see the link to update your Adobe Reader. Moving on then, as you can see, you have TN printable inserts, every size imaginable, and then you have the ring and disc bound printable inserts as well, and again nearly every size possible she has catered to. And let's face it, who doesn't love a good freebie? So click into the freebie section and you can see some of the free printables that she has available. Something that's also worth checking out on her page, if you click on the home page and you click on shop coupon codes, you will see every single code that she has available for all of your planner needs. Nearly every shop is there listed. So before you go purchasing, make sure that you check out her shop coupon codes. And moving on, I have already made my purchases in the last couple of days. So I'm going to open the Coffee Monster Co collab pocket rings PDF. So I've decided to use this insert for my pocket setup for 2020. It was just, out of everything she had available, this was the one that stood out to me. It was a week on 2 pages. So on the left you have your 7 days, and then on the right you have a variation of different note paper styles. You've grid habit trackers. So as you can see here, I'm just going through the entire file to see what pages exactly that I want to use. It's definitely worth noting, when you buy a bundle like this, go through it, decide what pages you want, because it could lead to a lot of paper wastage otherwise. I'm just scrolling through here to make that decision. From what you can see here now, I'm just printing my front and back cover, so I'm using page 1 and page 10, and then I'm clicking print on both sides of the paper, print on short edge. When I click the printer button down the bottom, I'm just updating the color settings for my printer. And moving on again, at this point I am now printing the actual insert, so I want 10 copies of the desired pages that I want. So here you can see I'm choosing page 10,11. So when you do 10,11, what you're actually doing is you are printing just those pages, whereas if you did 1-11, you're going to print pages 1 to 11, so be very careful there. So as I said, I decided to use pages 10 and 11. So in that case I typed in 10,11. If it's a case that I wanted 3 or 4 pages, randomly selected off the top of my head, I would do 2, 4, 7, 9, and then it will only print those pages. So just bear in mind the difference between a comma and a dash in your printer settings. Again, as I said before, the important thing to take away from printing the Plans Printables is flip on short edge, and when I went into my printer settings, that was just for my own personal preference to select my colour settings. So guys, typical me, when I was in the middle of printing my inserts, my printer decided to run out of ink. So it will be interesting actually to see if there is a colour difference, because one is an own brand and the other is going to be Canon original. So that's a dirty page that can be thrown out. So on the right here is own brand, and on the left here then is the Canon original. It's hard to tell which is better or which is worse. I think there's more pigment in the own brand, but I know from my experience when I'm printing my own stickers for my planner that I don't like the shades and the variants that come from the own brand, so that's why I went back to the Canon original. I have a bog standard Canon TS5151 printer, so it's not very fancy and it uses an extortionate amount of ink. I am hoping to treat myself to a new printer in the Black Friday sale this year. I'm going to go with the Canon refillable ink option. I've just heard really good reviews online about it. So these printables are for my Louis Vuitton PM, so these are ring inserts. So I'll get to the TN inserts later in how to either staple and or sew them. So there's numerous ways you can cut these down. You don't need anything fancy. You can use a scissors, you can use a Stanley blade. I have a cutter here, and I also have my Fiskars rotary cutter. In this particular instance, I know the blade in my cutter isn't the best at the moment and it's not cutting straight for some reason. It's driving me crazy. So for these inserts, I'm going to use my ruler and my Fiskars rotary cutter to cut them down. So I think the important thing for you to do in this occasion is make sure that everything is lined up perfectly and that your pages are perfectly straight. I love with the Plans inserts you actually have a cutting guide to ensure that the measurements are exactly right for pocket inserts, or for whatever insert size you do get. So I'm just going to double check them. Just over 8 and 12. So that's perfect. So in order to ensure that this is done properly, I would advise you to use little paper clamps to keep everything in place. When using a rotary cutter, guys, I'd advise you invest in a good metal ruler, otherwise you will end up absolutely slicing your plastic ruler like I have done to this little one. You want to apply really good pressure with your hand and make sure that the blade is in nice and tight next to the ruler when you push down, and then happy cutting. So guys, there you go. It only took 3 rollovers. Now it has to be said that is a brand new rotary blade that I'm using. So guys, and just like that, we had a couple of little mishaps along the way, but it turned out okay in the end. They are just about even. So that'll be my week at a view. So I have the 7 days on the left, I have grid note paper and habit trackers or to-do lists on the right. As I said, it's completely personal preference as to what works for you and your planning needs, but when I saw this, I knew it was definitely right up my street for my pocket planner. So I have roughly 20 weeks printed here. I haven't done the whole year because I don't think my pocket planner can take it. It's a Louis Vuitton PM, so the biggest rings that I have in it are 16mm. I did purchase the 20mm and they were just way too big. So the 10mm, as you know, that come as standard are microscopically tiny and impossible and non-functional to use. So that's why I did go to the Gilio website and bought the 16mm rings. So I'm gonna get these punched now and ready for my planner. So I use the Rapsco 6-hole punch, and I had been making dashboards last night for my pocket planner, so it's at the pocket setting. This is by far my favourite hole punch that I've ever used. I've also used a single hole punch in the past. Now it has to be said, it's phenomenally strong, but this is just as good, if not better. The time payoff is tenfold. And what I will more than likely do, I'll just make up a little sticker with planner, 2020 planner for this section here. Now guys, moving on, I'm just going to show you one of my TN inserts that I purchased from Annie Plans as well. So this is the shop coupon codes insert, and as you can see on the side here, I have a little happy scrappy tab. And then the inside of it just has the shop name, the code and the discount. So as you can see, what I did here, I used 2 staples on the spine to keep the booklet together. So I don't have a long arm stapler, so what I did in this case was I actually just got 2 staples and used them on the spine. So it's very easily done. What I actually did was I used a thumbtack to make the holes, and then I pushed the staple through from the back. It's very easily done. So you just make the 4 holes with your thumbtacks. Get your staple and push it through. And then once it's pushed through, you can use a ruler or a little blade to flatten it down. So as you can see, it's very easily done. So I'm actually going to take this one apart for you because I'm going to show you how to sew your inserts, as it is also very easily done. Now, don't get me wrong, that is probably the fastest way you can do them with the staple, but as you make bigger booklets, you're going to find that your average staple just isn't going to do the job. So what you're going to need for this is you're definitely going to need clamps to keep your paper together and in one place. You're going to need thread. You can use any thread. You can even use dental floss, but I have just recently purchased this clear thread from Amazon. I'll leave the link down below. This is fantastic, I love it. And something that's also very handy is this little tool called a wall. It's perfect for making holes in the paper in in order to make the sewing process a lot easier. If you don't have one of these, like these are very inexpensive, I think they were €4 or €5 and I got 2 in the pack. You can always use a thumbtack, does the job just as good. So what I'll do, I'm not being very particular about this as I already have 4 holes in it from the staples, so I'm just going to do an extra hole up the top and an extra hole down the bottom. And what I basically do with the wall, I just put it on the crease line and push it through. It's just that simple. And then I'm going to thread up my needle. So what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to do another hole here. I'm going to use this hole, this hole, this hole, and this hole, and one more in the middle. So I'm actually not going to use these 2. So before I thread my needle, I'm just going to make my knot down the end. Now I have a lovely long piece of thread, so as I said, I'm going to use this hole, this hole, this hole, this hole, and this hole. So you want the end of your thread to be on the inside of the planner, so you're going to start from going the inside out. And that just went straight through the little hole that I made with the wall, so that's something that is worth noting. A thumbtack or whichever wall that you do use might be a little bit too big. It might make the puncture hole just a little bit too big, so I just need a second, and just to be safe I'm going to do a 3rd knot so that the thread takes to the paper and holds it together for me. I don't think it would be one of my videos if something didn't go according to plan, but that's what this whole process is all about, guys. It's making mistakes together so that you learn and you won't make them again going forward. Take 2. Now that definitely held. Thanks be to God. So I'm going to go back into the first hole that I just came through. And now I'm going to jump down to the middle hole. Loop it back through the second. We're gonna go that looks much better. I knew there was something wrong with caught in the corner. So I'm gonna go back into the hole where that one came from. Bring it down to the last one. into the hole that it came from. Now you might have noticed this thread is a lot harder to work with because it is a clear plastic thread. If you're using an ordinary thread, you're going to get a much cleaner finish. Also, if you have a laminated dashboard, you're going to get a much cleaner finish. I don't in this case, this is just ordinary paper. Anyone who's using dental floss is going to get the same result as I will, because it's obviously going to be that little bit stronger, but it's also that little bit harder to work with. So now that I have that looped down all the way, I'm going to put it back into the second hole that I knot, the first hole. And the reason you're not putting it into the first hole again is because that's already knotted at the start of the line. So you just don't want too much pressure on the one stitch or the one hole even. So I'm now at the end of my job, and as always, I always use too much thread because I'd rather have too much thread than not enough thread and having to start the job all over. So here I am just trying to get my finish knot as close as possible to the paper. And you are done. So because, as I said, this is a plastic thread as opposed to an ordinary thread, it's not as flush as you would like, and it's most certainly not as flush as you would get with an ordinary thread. So that is definitely worth bearing in mind. If I had a dashboard on this, I would have been able to pull that a little bit tighter to get the thread as close as possible to the paper. So when you are in a position like this that it doesn't turn out as pretty as you thought it was going to, then that is where you come back to your trusty washi tape. Now, it's worth noting, guys, I am not a professional. I do not make inserts for a living. I just make them for myself. So this is a perfectly imperfect way of how I do make my inserts. There is hundreds of ways you can make inserts, but this is just the way that I like to make my TN inserts. I know, as I said, there is loads and loads and loads of ways that you can make them, but this just happens to be the way that works for me and the way that I like to do them also. So guys, I hope that this video shed some light on how to print your Annie Plans inserts and also how to make them once the printing is done. If you have any questions, please leave it down below, and of course, if you enjoyed the video, please give me the thumbs up. It is always appreciated, and click that subscribe button. Thanks so much. Bye.